This fits with mastery as well. So like I suit calling with mastery. You won't believe you have a calling if you're following the pack.
What about you believing that you have a calling?
Yeah.
How does that impact you? Like this work that we're doing right now never has felt like work to me. And other things I've done have felt like work.
Sure.
But this doesn't feel like work to me. And I believe that part of my love of it, my desire to do more of it, my grind, what everybody calls the grind, doesn't really feel that grindy to me.
It's not.
Because it's a calling in my heart. And you write about this, but I think everyone should just hear this. Like, and by the way, you can create a frame that causes you to believe it's a calling.
100%.
And the more that you create momentum towards that, the more you actually reinforce that belief and it becomes real. So how important is it to believe you have a calling?
It's huge. I mean, and there's a lot of research that backs it up. If you believe your work to be a calling, you're gonna approach it with so much more genuineness, excitedness. You'll be willing to learn. You'll expect incredible things to happen. It won't feel like work. And so, a big aspect of it though is self-honesty. Like if you won't believe you have a calling if you're following the pack, if you're doing what society tells you to do. And so you have to really strip away a lot of the noise, a lot of the expectations of other people, a lot of the worry about what other people think, because your calling is inherently intrinsic. And so, and I actually believe that it genuinely fits with what is most exciting to you, like what you want. You don't feel like you have to do it. It's what you absolutely want to be doing if you were really, really honest with yourself and didn't overly worry about what other people thought or how it would be received or if it worked. And so this actually, it fits a lot with Impossible as well, is because if you're willing to be honest about what you really want, and even if it doesn't seem possible, that can start to inform a calling. I mean, it can be very meaningful and purposeful, and it fits a lot with Frankl, Viktor Frankl's work about, having that why to live for. Like you've got to have something so big that it changes you, that it requires you to do stuff that is impossible. And that's really what leadership is as well, is when you start operating towards that, you get other people to believe the impossible is possible as well. But yeah, you really want it to be a calling. You want the why to be powerful.
You know the why part? Can we stay on that for a
Yeah,
minute?
whatever you want.
Well, I think like there's this other type of work in the space, like be vulnerable, be your authentic self. And
Sure.
people, and a lot of the hardcore business people go, oh gosh, okay, authentic this. But your real why can sometimes be embarrassing. And if you're not honest about the why, like I have a really good friend, I won't say who she is, but I love her because she is so honest, and she's a public person, and she works very, very hard at what she does. And I think it's become a calling. And I asked her, I said, why do you do all this? And here's what she said to me. And I loved this. She goes, I want to be famous. I want to be freaking famous. I want everybody to know me. I like walking into places and people go, there she is. And 99 out of 100 people would never admit or acknowledge that because it doesn't seem as sanitized or as perfect as it should be. She didn't say, I want to feed the homeless.
Totally.
Or this or that. And what most people have is a bullshit why.
It's not honest.
It's not honest. It's not their real why. It's the why that sounds good.
You won't have the same calling power with a fake why.
You got it. Right? You got it. And so I have another friend of mine who she really, really, really wants to be famous, like at the detriment of almost everything else. But she's always like, I just want to serve. I just want to make a difference. And I'm like, yeah, you want to do a little of that. But what you really want is what my other friend admits to wanting. And I'll bet on the horse that's admitting the truth about their calling and their why, because it's so real and they're so in touch with it, and they're not concerned about being judged. Like some people, like they're entrepreneurs, like, why'd you build your company? Sometimes it's okay. It's okay to just say, I want to get effing rich. If that's the why, and it's true for you, that's okay. I think eventually that will flame out, wear itself out, and you'll find a bigger or different why.
You will.
But there's nothing wrong initially by starting a business to say, I want to change my financial station in life. It won't be long term until it becomes something that you believe serves people or makes a difference. But if that's your initial impetus to start a business, great. That's okay. The why can evolve and mature. But if you're not clear about what the real reason is, you don't get that thing that you need to have.
Yeah, you don't get the fire. You don't, and it can be a calling, and a calling doesn't have to be for your whole life. It can be to get rich. It could be for a time, and then your future self is going to have a different calling.
Yeah.
And so I already know that I'm different and my motivations are different from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but I also know my future self will have different motivations. But yeah, there's a quote that I love. It's an Alcoholics Anonymous quote. All progress starts by telling the truth. And so if you're not telling the truth about what you really want, then you're actually catering to other people, and you're still not being honest with yourself, which means it's not a calling. So if that means you're letting the outside, hit you. One of the other components of this, so you got to be honest about what you want. Intrinsic motivation. Admit what you want. Actually own it. Own the why. Your future self will have a different why. That's okay.
Right.
We'll get there. But also, this fits with mastery as well. So like I suit calling with mastery. And mastery is different from expertise. There's a lot of experts out there, and you can be an expert but not a master. If you're a master, what it means is that you're uniquely good at what you do. Like, it means that you're not replicable. I can learn from you, but you are doing it your way, and you're being very true to yourself in the why and the how. And so you can't become a master if you're not honest with yourself, not only in the goal that you pursue, but also in the process of how you pursue it.
Very good.
And a lot of people, they'll just pursue goals but so you got to choose the goal that you most want, and then you'll pursue it in the way that makes most sense to you, and it's going to be very different from how other people would pursue it.
Okay, I know this doesn't sound like me when I say this to everybody. First of all, I want to acknowledge that you're right. And if you continue to come up with whys that you think everybody else will think is really profound or Gandhi-like.
No fire.
By the way, if your actual goal is to feed the homeless right now, and that's why you're doing it, or find a cure for cancer, wonderful, beautiful, awesome. But if your goal is, I want to make a lot of money so I can meet a beautiful girl, or find my dream man, or I really want to have an awesome car so people point at me. I know you may think that sounds shallow, but if that's actually where you're vibrating right now, if that's actually your reason, if you actually tune into that, you will be more powerful than if it's a fake one that is for the masses. Because over time, as Benjamin just said, is like, you will evolve into different goals. The other thing too is, if you wonder whether you're going to evolve into a future self, you have to do nothing but just look at yourself 10 years ago. There's already evidence that this is going to happen anyway. So you are going to evolve. You are going to change. Think about you 10 years ago, right? Wherever you were.
Think about what you cared about.
What you cared about.
What your goals were back then.
What you were worried about. What was the biggest problem in your life then? And all of this looking back would give you such perspective. It's like, that thing you were worried about, it ain't anything right now. And what you wanted then probably isn't what you want now. But what if you could have gone back then and actually gone 10x, actually gone for the impossible, actually were honest and true about why you wanted it, actually reverse engineered it, actually created frames that served you, actually took lessons away. Imagine if that became your habit. And he's sitting there shaking his head going, yeah, man. Like, so this is why we already know this stuff works. And if you do this stuff, your life will change. And you've already grown and changed. So don't assess or judge yourself for where you are, because you're not going to be that person in 7 minutes anyways. Especially after this conversation, I guarantee you're not the same.